Hi there. I am so excited about this week. I've just given two more seminars on, one was on food costing and another one was on staff and culture. It's Tuesday and I've had a great week already, and I'm really excited to circle back and share with all of you what I mentioned in the last couple of newsletters and what I was going to break down more in this newsletter. And then when it comes to, sometimes certain messages are just better face to face, and I feel like I can sit here and talk to you and say hi. So I'm back and I want to share more about this new package product thing that I have been doing with clients for the last 6 or 8, 7 months now. It's called The Numbers Tell the Story. And I came up with it partly from my own frustrations when I was a chef and a business owner trying to figure out how to make sense of the numbers. And then what I have done with clients for the last 12 years, frankly, I do it, and I was doing this process and I wasn't really announcing it or documenting it. And it's what I would do is I would look at the financial statements and I would kind of go over it until I could find the story, like what is happening in this business. And then I would either go build a financial model for my client or do financial projections or find the problems and find the solutions, and I would talk to it. But I never really showed the behind the scenes part of like how I figured out the story of a business through looking at its spreadsheets and reports, because it never occurred to me. And finally I was like, wait, I do this all the time. I find the story and then I go for the solution. And the story is actually what's really most important. And if you only know me as a chef and a food business consultant, probably what you don't know about me is that in undergrad, in my early 30s, I was a sociology major, and I used to do this thing, and they would say you have to either choose qualitative or quantitative. Quantitative meaning numbers and facts and figures, and qualitative meaning stories. And I was always the one that was like, it's in between. It's at that intersection where qualitative and quantitative work. So I'm a chef first and foremost. That's who I am in the world. It's how I relate to people, and it's how I express myself as a human being. And yet in business, as a food business consultant, so often I talk about numbers, because without those numbers, I don't have the vehicle to tell the story. And without the story, the numbers don't mean anything. It was the same thing in grad school. I was always told that you have to choose qualitative or quantitative. And it's kind of like being like, you have to be a chef or a pastry chef. That makes no sense to me. You can't have a meal without finishing it with a great dessert. And dessert, I mean, sometimes you can have dessert for breakfast, or you can start with dessert, but like you need savory to balance out the sweet, so they bring meaning to each other. And by realizing that I was not sharing the behind the scenes of how I get to the story of the business through its numbers, I was doing myself and everybody else a disservice, because getting to the qualitative story through the numbers is powerful. Knowledge is power. We know that. Numbers are scary. Numbers often feel like going to the dentist, and we go like this, like we're a toddler and we're kind of peering out between our eyes. But they don't have to be. I promise you, they don't have to be. I have not always been a numbers whiz. I learned how to do it, and it's not hard. The fear of it is hard. Getting over the fear of numbers is hard, but that's the worst thing by far. The numbers are actually not scary, and I'd love to show you how that is true. So behind the scenes, what do? It's a 6-month project, and I went out and I cherry picked a kind of handful of clients that I wanted to try this with, people that I knew really well, and said, I have this idea and I want to see if it'll work. And so I rolled it out, and I did that at the beginning of the year. And here we are now, and it worked. I found very different results for the handful of businesses that I worked with. They all have a different story, and knowing the story of our numbers, which is very different than just looking at a profit and loss statement or a cash flow statement or a statement of retained earnings, looking at all of those together, finding the story, because there's always a multifaceted story, gives us the opportunity to know the financial well-being and the overall well-being of your business prior to the next month when the reports come out. Even though we can all get reports like immediately on QuickBooks and stuff like that, we know the story so that we can make decisions today that are like real time, instead of in 4 to 6 weeks from now and what it looked like then. What do we need to change in order to get to our results? And it doesn't just mean working harder. The reason why I'm so deeply passionate about helping chefs and food business entrepreneurs is because I, just like you, was raised in the school of the culinary ninja, right? Like, or samurai, like you have to work really, really, really hard and pray. And that just doesn't make sense. There's so many easier ways to run a successful business than to work really hard and pray. I ended up learning how to continuously move the goalpost on myself because my identity became about like, I'm a chef, therefore I work hard. It was never okay to actually like arrive. It was always, it had to be working hard. It's part of the profession, right? It's a labor of love. And so you had to keep loving the labor. I would love to help demystify your numbers, because almost every chef I know or entrepreneur I know has this idea and a good sense about how their business is doing. And they have this weird kind of noisy thing happening in the back of their head. Sometimes we work really hard and we think, how come nobody appreciates how much I'm doing? I just heard a client the other day say to me, I'm the one that created this system, so it's up to me, but I'm still kind of resentful that nobody knows how hard I work. I had somebody say, like, they didn't know that the thing that they sell the most is the least profitable thing on their menu. So maybe we need to change that price, or we need to move something around so that a lower cost item in our menu mix is selling in a different way. There are creative things that we can do once we know the story of your business through the numbers, rather than just work really hard, because you work plenty hard and it is a tough industry and the margins aren't huge. You're absolutely right. And so you need to have as many tools as you possibly can. And it gets really interesting once we start looking at your numbers from a story perspective. So what it is, it's a 6-month commitment. It's a 6-month project. It's not a commitment. It's a 6-month project. It's an investment. I want to invest in your business and I want to help you invest in yourself. We spend a couple of months. We meet once a month. I look at your numbers on a weekly basis. I come up with a story. I come up with the charts. I share with you how I got there. And then we figure out together what we need to do in your business. It's going to help support you getting to your goals more easily, rather than looking backwards thinking, I should have made that decision last month. It's a decision that you get to make today, so that in a month from now, your business is closer to where you want it to be. There are outside factors that influence your business, but your knowledge doesn't have to be. Knowledge is powerful. Customized, precise knowledge about your business and the future of your business is priceless. I want to help you have that. So 6 months, we work together. We meet once a month. We talk a couple times a month. I'm here to answer questions. It means I'm your kind of like run a CFO for 6 months. I'm looking at your numbers and we're talking about them. Kind of, I do it, we do it, you do it. And we come up with a strategy. And after that, I think we'll probably check in, once or twice a year. How are things going? But I know that it can fundamentally change the outcome of your business and your sense of who you are by looking at the story of your numbers. I'm going to put the link at the bottom of this newsletter. If you have concerns about your numbers, if you have curiosities about your numbers, if you want something different about your numbers, or even if you think that you are doing really well and you understand your numbers, but you want to bounce a couple of questions off with somebody, get on my calendar. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation one-on-one. I wish you all the success in the world, and I want to help support that. Take good care. Bye-bye.